Hi, this is Anand. In today's video, we are going to see how we can transform a dull low light image of this spotted owlet from this to something like this. I'm going to use Adobe Lightroom Classic for all my basic editing. Uh, and then to remove the branches like this one over here and probably the defocus branches in the background, which is anyway not adding any value to this image. So I'll remove those things using Adobe Photoshop later once I'm done with the basic editing. So that will be the flow of this video. So first things first, I tend to follow Lightroom's flow in order. So what I mean by that is um, tools given from top to the tools given from to the bottom. So let's go from top to the bottom. Let's make changes to the sliders and we'll be done. So first let me crop this image. Usually in other editing I first do the lens corrections. Okay, lens corrections allow you to remove the vignetting factor or remove the warped angles or the corners of the image out. So let me show you quickly. If I choose enable profile corrections, so this image was shot with the Fujifilm camera. So let me select the make as Fujifilm. And Fujifilm users might already know this, that Lightroom does not have support for all their lenses. So if I press I can get the information on top left. I press I again, I can see that this image was shot with XF 100 to 400 millimeter lens, Fujifilm Fujinon lens, right? And I do not see that in this modern drop down. So let me just select Find Pics, and this is okay for me. I'll quickly show you what it has done. So if I disable this, you'll see how the corners are warped. When I enable it, how the corners are changing again. See how they are warped and now they are straightened, right? Now the reason I do not I didn't touch this at the start, because anyway I'm going to crop out most of the image, so I do not care about the corners in this image. So let me crop it according to my liking. I'm not going to change the aspect ratio as of now. This looks okay to me. Let's get those rule of thirds in place. Okay, I probably want to have more room so that I include that V of the branch. Otherwise it is looking a little awkward. Okay, this looks much better. The eyes are on the top line, horizontal line. The branch is almost around the second horizontal line, and this is I mean the rule of thirds are pretty much there. So I'm happy with this crop. Let's choose some profiles. So I tend to use Adobe Vivid usually to my images, but in this particular image, as you see, there are not many colors. It's already low light, it's very dull and colorless image. So I'll just try something else like Adobe Landscape. Okay, now this is looking little better because it has I think it has opened up some shadows automatically. So if you look at the histogram above, you can see the slight change. If I select Adobe Vivid, and if I select if I select Adobe Color, and if I select Adobe Landscape. So how selecting Adobe Landscape is making it shift little towards right, the whole histogram. That's why I'm choosing that. White balance, there is not really a white point in this image which I can obviously point out. So if, for example, if I just point to this pixel here, let's see what Lightroom does. Okay, so Lightroom has calculated the temperature to be 5200. I don't like that because it has made it cooler than what I like. So I'm going to shift this temperature slider towards around I think 5500 is looking good. Not going to change tint. This is okay. Now exposure, I think this is low light, so by pushing the exposure slider towards right, you are automatically pushing the histogram to the right. You do not want to overdo it, otherwise it will not look natural. It will obviously overexposed. It will be overexposed. So Let me limit it towards plus 70 or so. Uh, I usually do not touch contrast. If I have to change contrast, I normally use the tone curve, but not this slider. I find it more intuitive, the using tone curve more intuitive for contrast than this slider. Highlights. Now there are not many highlights to suppress here, so already a low light and dull image. So rather than shifting it towards left like usual, um, I will actually shift it to the right so that the histogram is also moving to the right. Okay. Uh, Slightly opening the shadows, not much. Otherwise, it will have a matte finish, matte look like this. It will look like a washed out image. I do not want to do that. So restricting it towards plus 13 or 12. I think this is okay. Now white point setting. I usually press the Alt or Option button on Mac and Alt on Windows. It becomes all black, and then when you change the slider towards right, it will start showing you the perfect white pixels. Now see, you see the blue and the white part in the image, that is becoming a perfect white. So I do not want to overdo it. This is looking okay. Similar to the black point, press Alt or Option on your keyboard and then change the slider. So first it will become white, and then you will start seeing some black points where you want to stop. So this is okay. Okay, now observe that on the right side of the branch, this has become very dark. I do not like this because it is immediately uh, attracting my attention immediately is going towards that black point or the dark point at the corner. So I do not want to overdo this black setting here. As it is not adding any value. Those details, even if I lose it or not lose it, it's not adding any value to this image, to be honest. So I think let me just put it around 35 to 36. That looks good. So overall, the image is looking quite good. It's better than the original. Obviously, if I press backspace, you can see before and after. It has already come to life. Now these are the basic settings. I will not touch the presence sliders right now. Vibrance, as I said, it is not going to make much difference to this image as this is not a colorful image, right? So let me not touch it at all. Tone curve. Ideally, I would select this. I would have this curve as an S curve, like something like this. But this time, in this particular image, I would only want to have the upper part, the upper S, not the lower S. Okay, because this is a darker image. I do not want to add contrast to the dark part. And here also you can, instead of touching this curve, if your hands are shaky, then you can actually slide these sliders at the bottom and see the effect on the curve. Okay. HSL again, since it's a colorless image, I do not want to change it. It's not going to make much difference to it. Color grading also same case. Now details. Coming to details, it has sharpening and noise reduction. So I actually do the noise reduction and sharpening from another app, which is DeNoise AI. So I actually want to make the sharpening to 0. I do not do sharpening from Lightroom. It's not as good as what you get from DeNoise AI or any other tools if you know of. Lens correction we have already discussed. Transform, I do not want to do it. Effects, usually in effects I add the vignetting, but this image does not have any picture, I mean any details at the corner, so it doesn't matter. It will actually look bad if I add the vignetting in the corners. So you see, it's going to completely mask that white color which has basically our exposure slider. The settings made by our exposure slider are going to be masked by adding the vignette, which I do not want. So making it 0 again. Again, calibration I do not touch. as this also applies to the colorful images. So this is looking good in Lightroom. Now I'll head to Photoshop for removing the defocus branches at the background and probably this one out here. It's distracting to me, and then we'll go ahead from there towards sharpening the image. To open this image in Photoshop, right click on Edit in, and Edit in Photoshop. Alright, Photoshop is all loaded. Now let's remove these branches. For that, let's use the polygon lasso tool and just select the area around the things that you want to remove. You don't have to be accurate, but don't miss any part that you want to remove. Now once it is selected, click on delete on Mac or probably backspace on Windows. I do not know the shortcut. Make sure the content is selected to content aware. Do not touch anything else. Click OK. And Photoshop is doing its own calculation to remove the area, and done. So it's completely removed. Now to this branch. Again, you don't have to be accurate, but at least make sure that at the edges like this, you need to spend little more time, and then you can speed process here. Okay, same thing. Click on delete, content aware fill, click OK, and it's gone. Nobody is going to know that there was a branch here and here, right? So let's save this image. When you save this image, it's going to open back into the Lightroom, but it's going to be opened as a TIFF file, TIFF. It's not going to touch the original raw image, so don't worry about that. But if you press don't save, then all your changes are lost. So after clicking save, let's head back to the Lightroom and I'll show you further. Okay, so we are back in Lightroom, and as I said, it will create a TIFF image. You can see if I press I, you can see it's the file name -edit.tif, right? It has not touched our raw file, which is .ref file. It's a Fujifilm raw file format, right? So this image is looking quite good. I've removed everything that I did not want, and now the only part remaining is the sharpening of the image, which I'm going to do again in the third-party tool called DeNoise AI. For that, I will again right click on edit in and edit in Topaz DeNoise AI. So this is the Lightroom plugin provided by the DeNoise AI team. It will load that software, and we'll see how we can sharpen this. So DeNoise AI has opened this image, and this is how the UI looks like. It has already applied its AI model, and it has detected that it should have okay, let me actually toggle this to set the model preferences. So now it has detected that it should remove 18 points of noise, and it should enhance the sharpness by 42 points. So let's look at their suggestions first, and if we want the changes to be done, we can do it later. So if I update the preview, it will show us the before and after. Okay, so it has updated it, and you can see if I slide this towards left, I can see the enhanced image, and you can clearly see the difference between the noise reduced from the original image and the after image, right? It's looking pretty sharp, pretty good, still natural. I don't see any out of the world effects given here, so I'll accept that and press apply. Now it will open same as Photoshop. It is going to open under TIFF image inside the Lightroom, and we'll just export it to a JPEG file later. I'm going to apply. Okay, so this is our final product in Lightroom. As you can see, it's acceptably sharp, and I cannot say it's a pin sharp image, but considering the conditions at the time of taking this photo, it's pretty much acceptable image. So let's look at the whole journey. We started off with our original image. I'll quickly show you by resetting it. So we started it from here to here, and then we removed the branches in Photoshop, and then finally we applied the sharpening and noise reduction in DeNoise. So this is pretty much done. I hope you like the video, and I hope you also have your workflow set up in Lightroom or whatever software you use. So happy editing, and until next video, bye.